day the Taliban seized power in August of 2021, the life for women in Afghanistan changed dramatically. Restrictions have accelerated in recent months, with women losing the right to attend university, go to public places like parks, and most recently to work for NGOs. Now, that ban is causing particular concern that Afghans will be deprived of crucial services at a time of dire humanitarian need. Following the announcement at the end of December, many major international aid groups suspended their operations, including the Norwegian Refugee Council. Joining us to tell us more is the organization's Afghanistan director, Neil Turner. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. Can you start by telling us about the moment that you learned about that ban on female NGO workers and why you decided to temporarily stop operating in the country?
Yes, thank you for having me. It happened on 24th of December, and we immediately looked at the implications of this. We have 1,500 staff in Afghanistan, and a third of those are women. And quite clearly, we need, on a principled, but also on a practical level, women working with us. Everybody should have the right to work. And as you said, there have been restrictions on women increasingly coming in. But more importantly, in a way, for us, we have to have women to be able to access the women that we serve, which are more than 50% of those who are in need because of the dire economic situation. So we're into the second week without great clarity on how this can be implemented. And we are ramping up efforts to try and get this reversed, because we cannot work on a principled or a practical way with any kind of ban on women in place.
And do you have any sense of what the impact has been on the people that your organization serves that haven't been able to get help in these past 2 weeks that your operations have been suspended?
Of course, that varies from NGO to NGO. In the case of NRC, we had suspended some of what we call winterization processes, where we are giving people cash to help them get through the winter. That will have an impact, obviously, and we're talking tens of thousands of people. But we hope that we can get this reversed and get back to working as normal. Overall, if suspensions continue for a long time, there will be about 6 million people who are at risk of famine. There will be 13 million people who will not have access to safe water. There will be over 600,000 children who will not receive an education, and the situation of education was already bad. And maybe more importantly, a lot of NGOs are providing protection services in Afghanistan, and over 14 million people, most of them women, of course, will lose those protection services as well. So this is a dire, dire situation for us.
And what about your female employees? Have you been able to continue to pay them and provide them with support?
Yes, absolutely. And that has been one of our first duty of care principles, that we are continuing, obviously, to pay our women and support them in all ways that we can. Remember that the almost 500 women who work for us, this is not only a professional thing, this is a financial thing for them. And they are supporting, in turn, because of the situation in Afghanistan, many more of their extended families. So obviously, this is critical for them. And we have had a lot of donor support, which will enable us to continue our operations with regard to paying people, and making sure that they are in as good a place as they can be, despite this terrible, egregious ban hanging over them.
And you mentioned that you are working to get this ban lifted. Can you talk more about how those negotiations are going?
Well, this is done in negotiation with other national NGOs, through the coordinating body for NGOs in Afghanistan, which is called ACBAR, obviously with the UN involved. And everybody is working as closely together through this difficult situation, because it is so existential for our entire operations and for the ability of us to serve people in need. We have to get this reversed, and everybody is working at all levels extremely hard to get that done.
And as we've mentioned, this is part of a broader crackdown limiting women's freedoms, but do you get the sense that NGOs may have been particularly singled out because of their connection with the international community?
I don't think so. I think this is something which has come, as you said, from a crackdown on the rights of women in Afghanistan. We have seen for the last year since the Taliban took over that women and young girls are not able to go to secondary school. The universities were open, then they were closed. There were the ban on women in public places, and this is the latest example. What we're calling on from the Taliban is to live up to the pronouncements that they have made, because they did say that they would protect the rights of women in Afghanistan. And we are have the full intent to hold them to what they say, because there is a principle involved in here, and also the women who work for us are essential to what we do.
And when the Taliban came to power, foreign governments like the U.S. suspended much of their foreign aid and made ensuring women's rights a condition to negotiating with the Taliban. Do you think that that's the right approach?
I think there needs to be a distinction drawn between humanitarian assistance and any kind of development or support to line ministries and so on by the international community and the donors. In fact, the donors have been very good and very clear that humanitarian assistance should not be stopped. Of course, we are the ones who are delivering that, and that's why this situation is so bad, because now the humanitarian assistance and the generosity of the international community towards the Afghan people is in doubt simply because we are being prevented from doing our life-saving work.
And just quickly, if the ban does remain in place, will you be able to resume your operations without female employees?
This is a red line for us. We will not resume without our female employees, but we have every expectation that sense will prevail and this ban will have to be reversed.
All right, Neil Turner, thank you so much for speaking with us today here on France 24.